without applause, I better not suck.
Yeah, you better not.
I know. You guys have really, I've learned quite a bit from you guys over the last several weeks. And honestly, it feels like a lot longer, in a good way. It feels like I've known you guys a hell of a lot longer. I'm trying to also remember all the tips that Abrams gave us in his thing about not using the laser pointer and stuff. So bear with me. Today I'm going to talk about tribal sovereignty. I'm going to talk about my tribe, Pechanga, a little history lesson about us. And if we have time left, I'm also going to talk about myself. As you can see, my name is Sean Vasquez. In our language, we get our tribal names younger in tribal school, and it's based more off your personality. So my name is Tubicha Yalatat, and it basically means dark or black, because dark and black is like the same thing in our language, cloud. Because my personality when I was a kid, I was really shy, but they thought I was really sad walking around as a little boy. So that's how I got Tubicha about that. And I work for PDC. All right, so here's a little table of contents. As you can see, we're gonna go bang, 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 bang. What I just said, basically. Oh. Okay. A lot of the thing that kind of blew me away is not just here, but anywhere you go, a lot of people know quite a bit about technology and really technical, complicated technology. But when they talk about sovereign nations, even here in the United States, it's such a foreign concept. You understand foreign nations and sovereign nations abroad, but not here at home. And oftentimes, we kind of get stuck in history. And especially people go, there's a couple things that people hit us with. You don't look Native American, okay. And I didn't realize tribes still exist. A lot of that has to do with the media, right? We kind of fantasize and keep Native American ancestry to a certain period of time. You think of us wearing headdresses and teepees, and really, that's only talking about like a small section of Native Americans in the Midwest Plains, not about Native Americans at large. So we're gonna learn a lot more. This is pretty much what a lot of Native looks like today, especially in business. And before I start talking about a lot of stuff with sovereignty, and before I talk about Pechanga, there's something really fundamental that I should probably get across. There are 574 nations in the United States. And just to recap, there was 574 nations before there was a United States. So we're not talking about something that was in history, we're talking about something that is still existing today. This is kind of what I want you to wrap your head around. We're still here, we're still relevant, and in fact, we've kind of, assimilated in a lot of ways. And we got the receipts. We got all these receipts. Look at these hardcore receipts. We got digital assets. We got physical assets. We got languages. We got stories of our families. And I'll tell you a little bit about our ancestry. In my tribe was in the same area for 10,000 years. How do we know this? Because archaeologically, we have all these artifacts that date back, carbon-based, to 10,000 years. Again, more than 500 distinct nations, sophisticated societies. It's said that my tribe, based in Southern California, which was a very sea-going tribe, our people was named Peampuicham, which means people of the West. The rumor is, and I shouldn't take it with a grain of salt, but I want you to wrap your brain around it, that our trade networks were so complex that we actually were able to trade with people from the Hawaiian Islands. And we traded abalone with them, apparently. Now let's talk about some quick facts. Why don't you see a whole lot of Native Americans around? Because there was a conquest against us. I mean, brutal conquest. One of the things you'll cherish about Native Americans now is really kind of hard to put in place. I think a lot of us think of us as trusting and trustworthy, but I hate to say we are very, very closed off to a lot of society. We don't like to share our ancestry and our history with people. We're very cynical people. Whether it be nation to nation or even tribal nation to tribal nation, we're just now seeing what's called this new iteration called Indigenous Rising, where we're coming back together and healing. But a lot of us were manipulated against each other, and it's very hard for our societies to exist. So this is me, this whole thing right here is pretty rare. And I suspect if I talked to my tribesmen back home that I was doing this lecture, I would probably be scolded by half of them. So this is a good thing, and I'm glad you're all here today. What does that look like? This is a map based in 2020 of the last census of where a heat map of where Native Americans are. These are federally recognized tribes in different counties as they put them, right? And you can kind of see what the total population is. Not many of us left. So you went from around 10 to 15 million to around, 400,000 or 500,000. We're down quite a bit, but we're making a comeback, goddammit. Wow. Okay, here's the next thing I want to talk about, and I know Pat, you know this quite well. Even being alive today with all the modern technologies and all the benefits that we have and all the systems in place, it really is hard being Native. Not all of us have casinos. In fact, just until like 1995, my tribe was a lot like this. And a lot of the tribes that I go around the nation suffer from a lot of effects like this. Life expectancy, we are way down the list. Diabetes, really high. Obesity, high. Suicide rates, 2.5 times the national average. Our missing and murdered Indigenous women is one of the most, it's just a travesty. Young women who happen to be Indigenous and Native, they go missing, they get murdered, and there doesn't seem to be any real outcry for solving their crimes. They also suffer from a higher distribution of domestic violence, alcohol-related deaths in Native communities, opioid crisis. I mean, we light up the map when it comes to these things. And a lot of it has to do with the systematic factors, the historical trauma, the idea that we can't trust federations, we can't trust governments, we can't even trust our families and our own communities because a lot of them have been abusive to us. So it's really hard to kind of get yourself up and going and looking outwards if you can't trust people. Not to mention, a lot of these tribes and a lot of these reservations are in very geographically isolated areas with very little bits of money. If you don't have natural resources as a tribe, you probably weren't doing really well. Furthermore, the federal government who took your land or put you in this one place is not here to help you, and they have no incentive to. Ask our current president. All right, so now that you have kind of an idea about where we are right now, let's talk about tribal sovereignty, right? This is why we're here. This is why we're here. What does it mean, tribal sovereignty?
Being independent?
That's pretty damn close. That's pretty damn close. It means you can govern yourself. It means you can govern, you have your own rights over your land, over your citizens. You're not subject to the rule of others. You have the ability to work with the federal government rather than the states. You can establish your own courts, your own laws, your own police, your own gaming commissions, and your own tax systems. Everything that you can do, when you think you're a sovereign nation, means that you don't have to abide by the rules of others. But in the United States, it kind of depends on where you are. There's also this thing called Public Law 280, which means that some states have this certain law that they can impose rules upon you. So it really depends on which state you are in. Now here comes the upswing. Because we are a sovereign nation, that means we have certain advantages, and they cater so well to business. Number one, we have a ton of regulatory flexibility. We can do almost whatever we want on our tribal lands. We don't have to worry about a whole lot of EPA stuff because, it's our land, and hell, they were kind of abusing it before. Secondarily, a lot of our communal nations, a lot of our tribes, the way they operate with tribal councils and our government structures, they always have to talk about it with each other. Nothing can get done without the consent of others. Secondarily, we have access to special federal resources. We can work in conjunction with the federal government. If they want to build munitions, we get special advantage to build those munitions, or if they want to build a power plant, we can do that. We get first bids on that. Secondarily, we have this thing called 7-generation mindset. What does that mean? When you're born, it is thought that 6 generations behind you, they conceived of you as a concept. you have to then carry that forward. I have to think not about my kids, but their kids, 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 kids. I have to make sure that all the resources that are here today exist for them, plentiful for tomorrow, and so on and so forth. I don't happen to have kids, but if I did, I'd be thinking that way, and I still have to think about that as the leader of my tribe for all those kids tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. All right, Pechanga. I'll try and slow down, but the clock is rushing me. Okay, this is gonna be a little traumatizing. I condensed a lot of material into one slide right here. Pre-contact, I already covered something that said we have stayed in relatively the same place for 10,000 years. Peum Kuichum, people of the West. And our beginning creation story, Ekva Temecula, which also is like Temecula Valley, modern day, that's where our creation said. The wise man who once walked around the valley, his name was Weo. He was one of the first men who walked around and shared his special stories. And he walked around with Kalam, which is also known as the first people. And those are the people who tell stories and pass around what this wise man once shared. Then Spanish settlers came. Sorry, Xavi. The Spanish were the first people to interact with us on the California coast. They came up from Baja California during the Gaspar de Portola expedition with a Franciscan monk named Junipero Serra. If you've heard of him, he has kind of got a decorated history. He is known for starting the missions and doing a lot of outreach and converting a lot of natives to Christianity. He also did so in a lot of brutal, kind of horrific ways. And a lot of the tribes that were in these areas were kind of round up and forced into labor for these missions and then converted to Christianity over time. My tribe was forced into the Mission San Luis Rey de Francisca, which I don't know if my Spanish isn't that great. It's supposed to be like, you know, the royal mission or whatnot because we had such plentiful resources. Anyways, we became known by the Spanish as Liseños. So our name went from Peum Kuichum to Liseño. In fact, that name kind of stuck with us up until maybe 5 years ago, I'd say. Well, something happened, right? You had this huge break apart from Mexico and Spain. I think it's 1821. Mexico becomes its own nation, and they do something along the coast where they say, okay, we're gonna secularize the missions, and we're gonna put all those natives that were in that area, we're gonna divide them into ranchos, and they can kind of, you know, take that land. Except that they gave the benefit to the Mexican settlers who were in the nation, and they wound up gobbling up our land. So there was a ton of battles back and forth with us and the military army. In fact, my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, Manolito Cota, he was one of the natives who fought the Mexican army quite a bit. And it was said that he had to like stand up for our tribe again and again and again until he was finally executed on some what's called the Temecula Massacre. Sorry, I'm rushing and I'm trying not to get emotional. Anyways, so the Mexican-American War comes, Mexico breaks apart, they cede California to the US. What does that mean? That means during the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, it was said that all the natives could basically keep their land there. Well, the US doesn't like to abide by treaties, so they said, okay, we're gonna send in a sheriff there, and we're gonna clear out all these natives that are there. So even though we've been brushed off again and again from our own tribal lands, this being the third or fourth time, the US sheriff basically at gunpoint said, you gotta go, you can't be here anymore. Until around 1878, a famous author who wrote the book Ramona, it's about a tribesman who fell in love with a Spanish woman, I think just outside of San Jacinto, about our tribes people. She went on report and sent back a notice to Congress and said, you know what, you guys have been really awful to these people. You've sucked away their heritage, you've sucked away their identity, you've taken their land, and goddamn it, it's just not right. So she sent back this letter, Congress said, you're right, let's set aside some lands for the Pechanga people and a couple other tribes in the area, and by executive order by President Chester Arthur, he gave us 5,500 acres. All right, what does sovereignty do for us? Quite a bit, actually. In 1995, we did bingo tents. You can see those, that's the assembled bingo tent. I remember when that went up, my dad's job at that time, he became a bartender. And that was like a big deal for him. Because before that, he was making cabinets. And before that, he was a semi-pro baseball player. That's an unrelated history. 1998 comes, and Props 5 and 1A actually test sovereignty, and Californians say, hey, we're gonna give native tribes the stewardship of gaming on their lands, right? We're welcoming Nevada-style gaming here. Next up, 2002 comes, and we build one of the most breathtaking, huge casinos ever built on the West Coast. 85,000 square feet, 14-story hotel, and we are booming. I mean, we hit it off so big in our area. 2004, we have an expansion. 2018, we have an expansion. I'm right in the middle of doing an expansion right now. And in 2021, I helped set up with Goldman Sachs to develop our Sovereign Wealth Fund, because you know what? Gaming will get you so far, but you are not insulated from all the economic downturn that comes with hospitality. I appreciate that. I'm trying to hurry up as much as I can.
Take your time.
So I wanted to show you kind of what that looks like right now. Oh. There's actually a sound to this. I just don't know how to work it.
Reunion here?
Oh, I'll get to that.
And you'll like the fun. Play your perfect combination at the Chunk Resort Casino.
Thank you very much. For the record, not only are you guys welcome to come, I have an open invite for any of you to not only come, but stay there for free on me as a guest of mine, as a guest of our tribe. That also goes for faculty, Dan. You are more than welcome to come. So what does it mean to be a tribal leader today? It means that you have to have a foot in two worlds. If you're familiar with that movie Tenet, where they're going backwards and forwards and you really can't tell what's happening, that's pretty much what it means to be a tribal leader. You have to apply a lot of the tribal governance and respect and structures that has kept our tribe together for more than a millennia. And then I have to also combine that with the strategic thinking and innovation of places like here in Stanford. It's a really hard thing to do. And a lot of times it feels like you're going like this. You are literally cut in half. I feel the criticism all the time of not being tribal enough, of not applying what my ancestors gave me, of, socializing too much with non-indigenous people, because there are people who would prefer us just to socialize with other indigenous nations. But I believe, as my grandfather believed, that it's important to share our story. It's important for us to get out there. It's important for us to thrive out there. So this is more about me. Hi, I'm Sean. That's me and my grandfather. I was raised on the res. I was a res kid from birth, basically. Both my parents are Native Americans. That pretty much makes me one of those rare kids who didn't succumb to all those horrible stats that you saw. My parents had me my mom was 15, my dad was 20. It is pretty normal for tribes people to have kids that young. Again, a miracle. I don't have kids, but you can see where I come from. And that man right there was the one who kind of kept me on track. He's the one that said, I have to smarten up. I have to work harder than everybody else. And I don't have to do it for me, I have to do it for everyone. I have to go out there and build and learn and take back everything that I know so I can supply it to my people. He told me this from when I was a little boy. And God, if he wasn't right, because when I came back after getting my master's, they asked me to run for the tribal shareholders for the board of directors. and he was the one who nominated me. It was during the height of COVID. I had put together a big deck and a spiel about how I wanted to get serious about diversification, and he was there. He was there for that nomination, and I won. I unseated the incumbent by 2 votes. It was a vote of 374 to 376. It's never been done, and I don't know what happened that day, but he was a big part of that, and it looked like this. That was him, that was me. We were social distancing in our cars and voting from our cars, and that was him. In fact, he's even wearing the hat of one of my companies that I am a boss. Native clothing, with a feather and a quilt. He was only around for 1 more month after that. Tomorrow makes promise to no man. That's a spin-off of a Canterbury Tale, and he would always kind of say that to us, and to me especially, which is, if I could hear him now, he would say, get your ass up and go. Go do this, because people need you. We need you. I need you. They need you. The tribe needs you. Get up and go. So here I am, and that's it. I really appreciate your time.